I was in a bookstore and I saw a sign that says, "How to be successful." And I saw this with curiosity and I thought, but I wonder what this sign is all about. And it turns out it was an ad for the book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And this was my very, very first introduction to personal development. So I went to the book, read it. The first chapter was all about taking responsibility for yourself and any successes that you want to have. And ever the good student, I probably read half of the book right there in the store, like 40, 50% of the book right there in the store. Bought the book, and what I did was I went to the back of the book and I bought every single book in the back that was recommended in the back of The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. That's how I discovered Tony Robbins. That's how I discovered T. Harv Eker. And that's how I discovered a lot of my other mentors, and ultimately how I found online marketing.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast. Sean Dill here with you, flying solo today, just as things would work themselves out. Lacey is at another commitment, and I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, where's Lacey? Well, it's only going to be half as good unless our guest is twice as good as our normal guest, which I think we might be in for a double dose of excellence from today's guest. It's not often that we are able to meet and have a conversation with someone who has spent time working inside of the Tony Robbins organization. He has logged many thousands of hours doing one-on-one coaching and consults with $1 million plus earners. And his insights have translated not only to being able to help more people and make a bigger impact, but into his own business as well. He is an online marketing expert. He is an international keynote speaker. And of course, you'll right away know that he's an international keynote speaker because you'll notice that he is joining us from the UK. He has international experiences, speaks many languages, just a super well-rounded entrepreneur, and I cannot wait to dive in with him today. James, let's bring in our guest today. Welcome, Mo Salami, to the None of Your Business podcast.
Hi, so much for the opportunity to speak on your platform. And I heard you say in the intro that I have to be twice as good. I've I've listened to your podcast and you've had some amazing guests on there. So it's a bit of an ask, but I'll do my very best. And like I mentioned before, my outcome is to serve your audience at my highest level. So let's do that.
Well, let's dive right in. We always begin the podcast with the exact same question for everybody. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know what's coming. It's easy, right? So when we read through your bio, when we look at your resume, it is super impressive. And so oftentimes, a guest of a podcast like yourself that people might see finding tons of success, they might think like, and especially in your case, well, look, Mo, of course you're successful. You used to work with Tony Robbins. Like, how could you not be successful? If I could have worked with Tony Robbins, then I would be in a very different space myself. But what oftentimes people miss is the journey, the story, the trials and tribulations that get you to where you are today. So let's start with some of the highlights, which actually might be the lowlights, the things that you had to endure and get through in order to be the Mo Salami of today. Tell us a little bit about your story.
I think the best way to tell you my story is to start with the sign. So it all started with a sign, as these things do. And before I get to the sign, I'll back up a little bit and give some context. So I'm from a family where the pinnacle of success is education, and specifically getting a college degree, and even more specifically, getting a science-based college degree. So I did that. I got my first degree, completed my first degree by the age of 20. In fact, I had three different science degrees, and I made it. I achieved success. And so what quickly followed was I moved to a great neighborhood and, great home, great neighbors, great, six-figure salary. And what I quickly found with this, in inverted commas, success is that a six-figure salary equaled 16-hour shifts. So the weekdays and the weekends and the holidays for me were work days. And I'd get to the end of the year. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'd get to the end of the year and I would look back and my year was always the blur of shifts and working, but I wasn't sure because this was success, right? And that brings me so nicely to the sign. So I was in a bookstore and I saw a sign that says how to be successful. And I saw this with curiosity and I thought, but I wonder what this sign is all about. And it turns out it was an ad for the book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And this was my very, very first introduction to personal development. So I went to the book, read it. The first chapter was all about taking responsibility for yourself and any successes that you want to have. And ever the good student, I probably read half of the book right there in the store, like 40, 50% of the book right there in the store. Bought the book, and what I did was I went to the back of the book and I bought every single book in the back that was recommended in the back of the Success Principles by Jack Canfield. That's how I discovered Tony Robbins. That's how I discovered T. Harv Eker. And that's how I discovered a lot of my other mentors and ultimately how I found online marketing. So then I asked myself the question, I wonder what would happen if I were the best in the world at online marketing. And more to the point, I wonder what would happen if I were the best in the world at personal development. So I went on like a 10-year journey of learning from whoever's the best. If you're the best in the world at teaching how to speak on stage or online business or digital marketing or any level of personal development, I was at your event, your seminar, your course, your training. So probably I spent and or was invited to $500,000 worth of training over that time span. And what quickly happened was I came to a fork in the road. And it was, do I continue getting awesome results for people with online business and, online market type activities? So I had taught myself to code and I knew how to build websites and and apps for your, like phone, that sort of thing, and all different areas of digital marketing, online marketing. Or do I go work for Tony Robbins? And of course, Tony has an amazing mission that he's done for decades now, helping people, get to the next level in their world. And then ultimately, I had the opportunity to do high ticket sales as well. I had learnt sales from Jay Abraham, marketing from Jay Abraham, sales from Chet Holmes, love Jay, love Chet. And so I took the decision to take the fork in the road that led to working for Tony Robbins and had the opportunity to really be part of a team that's so heart centered to help people win. And whilst I was there, I had an epiphany, which was this. I was reflecting on my past, in inverted commas, success. And what I realized was that sometimes we think we're successful when what is really happening is stressful. And then that's when I said to myself, I wonder if I can use all the awesome things I've learned through online business and personal development to help people create the life and the lifestyle that they want to. And that's what brought me here, more or less.
Well, we might get stuck here on this story for the rest of the podcast. But let me so Success Principles, Jack Canfield. It's a wonderful book. Anybody who is consuming this content and has not read the book, what are you waiting for? You've got to get that foundational. Almost all successful people that I've met have read the book and attribute at least a piece of their journey to this book. Secondly, so you have a degree in science, you have a great job, you're making good money, you see this sign, and you're like, all right, and you see the book, and I love that we're so sucked down this rabbit hole, but you have a degree in science, you see this personal development book, you start reading it right there in the store. Where does online marketing come in? How did you all of a sudden, you're reading this book? Why did you get into online marketing?
It does sound very random. So, like I mentioned, I read all the books on the in the back of the success principles, and there were different, I guess, topics or buckets. There were personal development, and then there was financial IQ. So all the main financial IQ books we've heard about, the Richest Man in Babylon, and Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and also Rich Dad Poor Dad, and at the time, one of my favorites, the Cash Flow Quadrant. And then let's also mention, seeing as we're here, the Automatic Millionaire. And I was led to online marketing because I found T. Harv Eker via reading those books, found his book, The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. And then that led me to really think about, like, the financial IQ, because my IQ at that point was mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. That was what I knew, right? So um, it was just I think the online marketing, I saw it more as, at the time, I saw it more as something I can gift to help other people, because I thought most people, like, if you want to create the life and the lifestyle that you want, a lot of times the restraint is financial. And if one is able to have their own online business, they can decide, by the way, I love my 9 to 5, and I'll have this, in it, so to speak, six-figure online business on the side. Or maybe they have their own tribe that they want to serve, and then they could decide, well, I'm going to go all in with that. And again, it's always a strange one mentioning numbers, but I'll go all in with that and have my mid six-figure, seven-figure, etc., or whatever they want via online. So I went into it just with a fascination, and that if I can get good at it, it gives me the opportunity to serve and really put some value out there in the world.
I love that. I just want to say real quick for our listeners and viewers, but also for you, to me, I don't think that there's anything weird with sharing numbers, and I think that people that have um, that hear somebody sharing numbers and have a complex around it, that's something that they have to work through, right? If somebody was on the podcast and they're like, "Hey, I'm doing really, really amazing, and I want to share my amazing story of how I made $10 in online marketing." Even if they consider that to be a wonderful success, which I'm not knocking that, that's very different than someone that made 10 million or 100 million. And if we didn't share that, we don't even have the perspective or the context. And so, knowing you, Mo, it's not some sort of a brag or a flex. It's just giving us context of, I was here and I was doing well. And there's a lot of people that dream of a six-figure job. And then from there, being able to propel yourself to where you are, it gives us context. And so for everybody, I wish that everybody would just be okay, even people that are not doing well. Because too, we'll get into this part, but if we're working with someone as a coach and and I've seen this, you must have seen this now thousands of times, then they're telling you, like, I'm doing okay. And they don't provide you context. Like, what does that mean? Well, I'm making, $3,000 a month, and I'm paying all of my basic necessities, but that's it. That's not the same as I'm doing okay making 30,000, 300,000, or 3 million a month. And so the numbers just really provide context. It doesn't make anybody lesser or greater. It's just the context of, all right, so how much am I needing to listen to this? I want to go the next step then, and because you got to the fork in the road. And so, and I'm going to come back, by the way, to the online marketing, because I think that's extremely valuable for the community that we serve. But I have to sort of unpack this fork in the road, like all of a sudden. So you're traveling down, you're getting all of your personal development, you're doing all these seminars, you're edifying yourself, which I love, because so many people do not invest in themselves. A lot of people look to a podcast like this, or look to people like yourself and say, well, yeah, I just want to be like Mo. And that's why this question at the beginning is so important, because it gives us an idea of the runway, the time that it takes to get there. But you get to this fork in the road, and it's funny because it's all of a sudden, it's funny to me that I'm going down this online marketing route, and then bang, I have this opportunity to work with Tony Robbins. How does that happen? Like, how does one all of a sudden have an opportunity to work with Tony Robbins and then have to face a what we would call a decision diamond, a moment, a fork in the road of, am I going down this road or Tony Robbins? One, how do you get that opportunity? Like, how does that happen? Not saying like, hey, this is what you do if you want to work with Tony. How does that arise in your life? And what does that decision look like? Because I think most people would be like, hello, Mo, why did you even think for any longer than 1 second? Just go with Tony.
So I wrote down a few points here that you'd made.
Perfect.
So I just want to quickly flip back to the financial IQ piece, like saying numbers. I am so glad you brought it up, Sean. And what I like so much is that you wrapped it up so well. So I was holding back from a perspective of, bragging, that sort of thing. But I think from a financial IQ perspective, it is 1000% the right way to embrace the numbers that you have or you're doing or you're aspiring to. Because guess what? It means that you're putting 10 times, 100 times value out there and really making a difference for people. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. And I agree, like, completely. One of the things that we do, we have different clients that come in, and we have clients who we help make 5-figure months, and some their level that they want or aspire for are 6-figure months. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. Thank you so much. And with regards to the investing in yourself, you know, it was all about, if I can be the best me, I can help you in a plural sense be the best you. So this, um, when I found out about online marketing, online business, digital marketing, I was from a completely different world at that point. And I thought, well, I remember I was sat in one of the seminars, and then they have a course that they were selling. And I thought, how do I become that guy, the person that's on the stage? How do I do that? That's what I want to do. And literally, one of my mentors, Chet Holmes, would teach about buying criteria. And my criteria at the time wasn't what is the cheapest one or what is the not cheapest one. My criteria was, who is the best in the world? And that's how I wound up in, like, Malaysia or Barcelona or all throughout the US or somewhere, you know, learning from whoever was the best. That was the outcome. And again, the outcome was because if I can be the best, when I mentioned what does it look like to be the best in the world, again, it was from the perspective of not being better than the next person, but being the best that I can be so I can serve you at my highest level. So that's why investing in mentors, in coaches, in training, it just means that you aren't just learning from what you do, you're learning from the amazing stories and strategies from someone else. Add a mindset piece to that, add some implementation to that, and then voila, you're on the road to where you want to be. And it's certainly not an overnight. You get to do these things overnight, but there's been a lot of nights and days and traveling and trusting in yourself and others to get to that overnight success, if you will.
I love that. There's lots of nights in the overnight. I love that. Tell us about then the opportunity to work with Tony. How did you end up in that space? And what does that decision look like to kind of at least temporarily pause your pursuit of online marketing mastery to go into this world of personal development?
It was a natural progression because my quest was always, who's the best in the world. So I'd learned professional speaking from who I consider to be the best. I learned all these different areas, digital marketing. So then when I was looking around the world of personal development, naturally I thought, wow, Tony Robbins. And then I had a really great, you're in a fork road, but it's like whichever fork you pick, it's a great fork, right? It's a great meal ahead, if you will, with this particular fork. And with the online business, some of some of the really great online business people that you know really well now. I was I knew them from before, and do I continue down this road? And it was partly the other fork of working for Tony. It was one that I wanted to do from a perspective of serving people at a high level, and then also, frankly, from a perspective of making it real, making the knowledge of high ticket selling that I got from the Red Book of Selling or Chet Holmes training or all these other training, doing that for real, like making the multiple $1 million a year in sales. In fact, one of my highlights when I got over there was I did $1 million of sales in 90 days in quarter 4 of one of the years. So working for Tony was a combination of that, of getting to serve on this amazing mission, and then I was um, included had the opportunity to do high ticket sales, and again, which meant we were putting a ton of value out there into the world.
Let's talk a little bit about some advice because I can't let you bounce out of here without edifying our listeners now that we know that you are the real deal. Um, a lot of our listeners, they make their living in a brick and mortar. So service providers providing a service. Now, a lot of them, yes, people that listen to this show also already are in the digital space. But let's talk for a moment and leverage your expertise on online marketing because you had talked about maybe like I'm making my living as a CPA, lawyer, a physical therapist. I have clients doing quite well, but I'd really like to explore providing a service online. Maybe I already have my community. I have the community of prospects that maybe haven't come to see me yet, but I also have my community of clients, patients that I currently serve. How would I begin to explore venturing out into the online world? Any advice on how I can monetize my knowledge? We always talk about this. What we want to do is teach our people how to make the shift from getting paid for what they do to getting paid for what they know. So give us some advice, some starting points. And I know this might be super sort of elementary for you, and we'll dive a little deeper beyond that. But the starting point, how does someone begin to make that transition from I get paid for what I do, and I want to start online delivering content, courses, being paid for what I know?
So what I would say is this: mistake is a strong word, but I use the word mistake. I think a mistake that a lot of people do when they want to venture online is the first thing they think is, what product should I put out there? And then the second thing they usually think is, oh, I'll just go post randomly on social media. Now, what product should I put out there? I wonder if a better question is to have your own audience, like really put together your own audience and find out how you can best serve them. Find out what their needs are, matched with your expertise, of course, and then how best serve them for their needs. And then once you can do that, then your audience will tell you what they need, and then you can provide that accordingly. The other option of what product do I do first is you sort of put together the product and you push it on people. Usually, first of all, your family and close friends and that sort of thing. And a great way forward again is to have your own audience, find out what they need, have your own audience, nurture your audience, find out what they need, and serve them accordingly by really listening to them and how you can best serve them. And then with the posting randomly on social media, again, this isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as there's a strategy behind it. If the strategy leads to your minimum viable audience, that then is a great way forward. So because I mentioned it twice, it's definitely a great idea to have your own community, have your own audience, serve them, nurture them. Some of them will go for the instant, like I'm an instant decision maker. They'll go for the instant decision for the product or the service that you have. Some, the nurture might be a bit longer. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might be a couple of years, but you're still continually adding value for them. So I would say those would be the two, I guess, the main two questions that tend to come up in terms of the way that people go versus what they perhaps should do with an online business.
I actually love that minimum viable audience. So many people are rushing to MVPs or minimal viable product, but if there's no audience, one, we might not have the right product for that audience. So many people put the cart before the horse, right? We built the product. Now we're going to run out there and try and find the people to sell it to versus building the audience, which is so great. What a great nugget you dropped there, Mo, is build the audience, then find out the product that they desire. Then I could build that product and I already have the buyers in my community. I love that concept and I really hope that people latched onto that. Let's then segue from there. I'm just going to have a little bit of a right turn because if I'm doing that, and so I'm posting randomly, as you said, on social media, I'm putting my content out there. Personal brand is so important in the online space, especially today. What advice do you have then? Because a lot of the people that listen to the program are professionals. And so there's a degree of resistance to putting anything out there on social media because look, I have a degree. I don't want anybody to take anything wrong. I don't want to be canceled. But they also intellectually know I need to put content out there. Give us some advice on personal brand. How do I build my personal brand, and then how do I perpetuate it out there online without running the risk of hurting myself professionally?
That's an interesting question, and it's also a great question. And it starts with putting yourself out there. And you know this already, Sean, which is that, once you put yourself out there, you're you build up your competence. So you go from I don't know if I can put myself out there. Should I post? Should I go on camera, as it were? And then all of a sudden, you're doing the reps, put in the reps, and then that becomes a competence, and then the competence leads to confidence. And in terms of putting yourself out there in a professional sense, I think like if you lead with authenticity, this is huge. Lead with an authentic spirit to serve your audience. At that point you would know who your audience are, who your avatar are, meaning the person that you serve, where they are in their journey, where they are at the start of what they need from you, and then the I guess the doorway that they want you to take them through to the success that they want. So you'll have all that knowledge. So because you have that knowledge, you can speak directly their language, speak direct to them. And again, one of the being a leader and being that influential person means stepping out of your comfort zone. And the more and more that you put yourself out there, the more it will lead to just having that confidence in doing that, if that's the word, and the certainty as well.
Well, obviously, I think for everyone, what a great combination and rare combination, frankly, someone that has an expertise in online marketing and in personal development. So, the coaching, you are also a life coach. So, business coaching, life coaching, online marketing strategy, all rolled into one person. Tell our viewers and listeners, how can they get more Mo Salami? How can they reach you? How can they find out more about your offerings? And tell us a little bit even about what those offerings look like. Who do you help and what do you help them do?
So I teach that you can create the life and the lifestyle that you wish to create. You can literally create the life that you want and the lifestyle that you want. And the way that I help with this is via impact and fulfillment. So the impact piece is your online business and having that six-figure or seven-figure and beyond. You see, I didn't hesitate there. Online business, so an on the side or full-on online business, impactfully, and also the fulfillment piece, because you get all the way to the end of your success and you realize that, wow, I needed the fulfillment piece as well. So we help with, if it's high performance, if it's different aspects of personal development, those two. So I offer a strategy call, and on the strategy call, a ton of really great. You get a ton of really great value for yourself and your journey, and really great clarity for what you want and what you need. And then ultimately we can decide, if we're fit to work together. So you go to mosalami.com/free call. That's mosalami.com/free call to schedule a strategy call. And if you want to know more about me in general, go to mosalami.com/blog. And that's how we help.
Want to just make sure everybody knows Mo Salami, Mosalami, mosalami.com. That's your entry point. And then if you are interested in his offerings, I want to highly encourage you, though, jump on a free call. People sometimes miss that, because a lot of people offer a free call and people get scared. It's interesting, right? Like, oh, but I don't want to do a free call because it sounds like free call means I have to buy something. It must mean it's a sales call. And Mo already told us that he used to sell high ticket for Tony, so he's got to be good, right? I don't want to be sucked into this. Listen, that's not the way that you should be approaching your life and finding value in creating relationships with other individuals. Like Mo said, if it's a great fit, then of course it will be natural. You will want to work with Mo because you will realize all of the value that he can bring into your world. If not, hey, you may create a relationship with Mo. You guys might be fast friends. He's in the UK. He's a fan of football. The greatest team in the world, he told me, Arsenal. Even though he lives in Chelsea, so you can create a relationship. I want to encourage you guys to jump on that mosalami.com/free call. Mo, anything that we didn't talk about that has been put on your heart that that you want to share with the rest of the world?
Absolutely. I just want the your listeners to know that you can curate the life that you wish to create. You can literally do that, and most people, they just stay in this comfort zone. Most people stay comfortable living a life that they loathe, and very few people get uncomfortable to create a life that they love. And once you're able to do that, get uncomfortable, that's where success, impact, and fulfillment lives outside of your comfort zone.
I love that. That's a great line. So many people get comfortable living a life that they loathe. Wow. Rather than get uncomfortable to live the life that they love. Mo Salami, everybody, he absolutely killed it. Mo, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your soul, your wisdom, even the knowledge that you've gained from studying to get those degrees in science. It's all well worth it. I'm sure that your family is very proud of you and today calls you a success. It was a pleasure to have you on the None of Your Business podcast.
Pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. How'd Mo do? I think he doubled the value. He was double as good as our normal guest, which, since I didn't have Lacey, you take out Lacey, add the double dose of Mo Salami. I think we brought ourselves back to 100%. Let us know how you think we did, and make sure that you join us next week. We'll be back again. We'll make sure we've got Lacey with us. We'll do a brand new show here on the None of Your Business podcast.